All right, let's talk about a few of your recent credits. The first is Coach. What was that like to appear on that show? You were on 2 episodes of that as Lorraine.
Yeah, that was, I was supposed to do uh, at least three. I don't know what happened to the third one, but the first two were fun and funny, and I enjoyed very, very much doing the show. That was a lot of fun. I wished I could have done the third one. I don't know quite what happened, but they take a character and they decide to move on, do other things. So.
You also did an episode of Ellen.
Mm-hmm.
What was that?
Mm-hmm.
Like?
Well, I went and I did a reading and an audition for that one, and I just read a scene early on in the script, and I didn't know what the storyline was until I actually got the script, and then I was kind of horrified, and I don't think I was any good in it at all, because, at least in the last scene, because it made me so embarrassed. It was about a friend of Ellen's parents videotaping themselves having sex. And then there's a mistaken thing where she gets the tape, and she puts it in her tape recorder, and she's seeing her parents. Well, doing the scene, of course, you didn't see anything. But the inference was so embarrassing to me that I just kind of wanted to die. But Ellen, I really liked Ellen DeGeneres. I think I'm so proud of her, and I'm so pleased that she has persevered, gone through so much, and now she's so big. And I think she's hilariously funny, and she was wonderful to work with. She knows what she does best. She's good at it, and she had a nice person. I really liked her. And it was, except for the content of that scene, I think it was. The rest of the show was fine, and I really liked working with her very, very much.
That's very nice. Friends, an episode of that early in the run of that show.
Mm-hmm.
What was that like?
Well, it was the episode called the one where Nana dies twice, and strangely enough, I was asked to go on the reading about not more than a week after my mother died. My mother was called Nana. And after I did the reading, I went out in the hallway to leave, and of course you don't get the script before you go. They hand you it, and then you go in and you read it, and you leave. So it was kind of one of those instant things. When I came out in the hallway, I burst into tears. I had not been here when my mother died. I was in New York helping a son with a new baby, a son and his wife with their new baby. And my mother was 97, and she fell asleep. And my husband, Louis Genevrino, found her in her apartment because he was watching over her. She lived alone, by her choice. Still on her own, fell asleep reading a book with a little cookie next to her, and went to sleep. Anyway, I had never had the process that you will go through with someone who's ill and dies. So it hit me that day, and I burst into tears. I got home, found that I had got the part, and told my agent what had happened, and he said, well, you don't have to do it if you don't want to do it. And I said, no, Mother would want me to do it. So I did it. And I'm kind of sorry I did, because once again, I was dragging this baggage with me, and I don't think I was very good, and I don't think that the director, Burroughs, was directing it, and Jim Burroughs, and I think he was didn't like what I was doing at all. I didn't like what I was doing. I just couldn't get rid of me. I couldn't get into the character. Did my best, and that's all. But at that point in time, I thought, well, now Harry's gone, my mother's gone, and I don't really have to do this anymore. Mm-hmm. And I pretty much, at that time, just kind of let now that's not to say I haven't done it since, but pretty much I only do what Eleanor wants to do as far as work goes anymore. So.
Well, that's a nice place to be.
And I actually, I'm happy that I was, if I never, ever work again, the last thing that I've done is this year, and it was an episode of Cold Case. And I'm terribly pleased with having gotten the part. I'm terribly pleased with how it came out, and I'm very proud to have been part of that show. And so that's my...
That's great. One show I skipped over that I didn't mean to was Dr. Quinn.
Oh.
In the mid-'90s. You had a recurring role on that.
Uh-huh.
What was that experience like?
Oh,
Especially the production of that. Was it on location, and there was some of the challenges there?
Yeah, they shot it out at the old Paramount Ranch, which is out in the Malibu Hills. And it was as though you were actually living it because you were on location. Again, I didn't have to audition for this. I was just called to do it. And I always said if I had been auditioned for it, I never would have gotten it. So I was awfully glad that I didn't have to. But the wardrobe people and the makeup people said that when I was in the first episode, when they put the wig on me, my personality just immediately changed, and I became Rebecca. She had these little curls down this. I was playing Jane Seymour's eldest sister. And somehow the role just suited me. I can't say what there was about it. One of the things that production insisted that everyone wear their corsets. All the women wear their corsets. We were the Boston family. We came from Boston, the mother and the two sisters. Or actually, there were 3 of us in the first episode I did, and then the rest of them stayed back in Boston. And then Allie Mills and I were the only 2 that went ahead and did other episodes. But when we would come to visit her in Denver, which was actually the Malibu Hills, we were dressed in our Boston clothes, and we were required to wear our corsets under our outfits. Everything that we had on from the inside out was authentic. One day we all decided that it was much too hot to bother, and we weren't working but just in this one short little scene. So we all, mother and sister and I, agreed not to wear our corsets. Do you know that the next day the wardrobe people got a note, you will wear your corsets. They could tell because you hold yourself differently. You sit differently. You know, I could no more sit like this than the man in the moon when you have a corset on. It's really interesting, and it just gives you that extra special, thing. It was great. I loved it.
What was Jane Seymour like to work with?
Fun. She was like a sister. We had a good time together. I think the one that I enjoyed doing the least, strangely enough, because we were it wasn't in the groove, is they did one up in Canada, and we shot it in Montreal. And Montreal was standing in for Boston. And it was the death of the mother. And the sister the other sister, Allie Mills' character, had died in a couple of episodes. We did a wedding, we did the birth of a baby, we did Allie Mills dying, and then we did mother dying. And the last scene of the show, when Jane Seymour is saying goodbye to me, she's going back, and I'm staying in Boston. And I wanted to let her know that I was going to volunteer at the hospital. Well, we all burst out laughing because we knew what that meant, that I was going to come down with smallpox or something and die. So I wouldn't be there for the next episode. But we had fun.
That sounds quite amusing. I have a few summing up questions before we let you go today.
Okay.
Do you think you have a specific acting style?
I beg your pardon?
Do you have a specific acting style?
I don't know. That would be for someone else to say. I don't know. I don't think so.
What would you attribute to the longevity of your career? I mean, obviously you started, as a child.
Never having been a star, I think, is helpful. Although stars can certainly have very long careers. So the other thing added to that is being able to roll with the punches and not forever want to be a starlet. As a child actress, being able to get rid of child actor habits, and sometimes, I know I had them, some child actors do have them. A lot of the ones today don't seem to have any of these kiddie habits, but you know, that thing where you do something with your voice, you know, that just keeps it just a little bit young. You got to get rid of that, you know, and mature. You got to keep maturing. And you grow as a person. You bring a little bit what's going on in your life to your characters. And I was lucky enough to be able to bridge the gaps. I wasn't afraid of playing mothers. I was a mother. I was playing mothers of little kids when I already had teenagers. But then, you know, playing a mother of Chris Elliott didn't give me the pip because, like, I already had grown children. So just kind of an extension of my life in a way. And on Cold Case, I play a woman who's in her 80s. I'm not that old, but I'm not afraid of it. And so I don't nip and tuck and die and do all those things. I'm ready for whatever happens.
What has been the highlight of your career?
Oh, that's been the blessing has been to act with so many wonderful, wonderful actors, both stars and non-stars. It's all been a highlight. I think even the low points have been highlights in their own way because I've learned something from them, or they give me certain kinds of memories. I loved my years at MGM. I mean, it's in glorious living Technicolor to me with those wonderful years. And having the joy of being with Robert Young and Jane Wyatt, and to count Jane Wyatt as a close friend has been a blessing.
The last question we like to ask is, how would you like to be remembered?
Oh, I don't know. I guess just remembered a little. Not in any special way. Just kind of remembered that I was able to span a lot of decades and a lot of different kinds of entertainment, from vaudeville to television.
Well, thank you so much for taking this time today to sit down with us. It's been wonderful.
You're very welcome. Thank you. This is little Mary Eleanor at Universal, age 5½. This is a picture of Richard Lane, a character actor from Universal Pictures, who was my daddy Dick, who got me started in television, really. This is Dancing the Waltz of the Flowers with the Marin Bloom Orchestra for a Warner Brothers short. I'm the little girl in the middle. This is with Lynn Roberts of Winter Wonderland. I was about 8½ years old. This is with Margaret O'Brien in Unfinished Dance. We were best friends in real life and played best friends in the movie. This is from the MGM film Three Daring Daughters with Jeanette MacDonald, Jane Powell, and Annie Todd, and myself looking raptly at Miss MacDonald. This is during my period of being a chorus girl. I am the centurion on the right-hand side upper, looking at the chief of police of Los Angeles during a police show, big variety show that was put on every year in the early 1950s. Dancing with Ray Bolger in one of the 2 episodes that I did with him. He was a wonderful person. Father Knows Best with Robert Young, Jane Wyatt, Billy Gray, Lauren Chapin, my family. During Father Knows Best, this was the makeup artist Clay Campbell, who was the head of the makeup department at Columbia Pictures. And there I am with my false ponytail scrunched up against the back of the chair. People have asked me if filming has changed much these days. No, it hasn't. It's basically just exactly the same. This is me with Jane Wyatt and the crew and the camera of Father Knows Best. This is my dear Harry Ackerman, about the time that he had asked me to judge Miss Emmy. With Andy Griffith of The Andy Griffith Show. The first season of the show, and saw it into the top 10. Don Knotts and Andy Griffith of The Andy Griffith Show. With Jay North on Dennis the Menace, where I got to be a bride. He was such a sweet boy. This is Harry and I with our good friends, the Ashers, Elizabeth Montgomery and Bill Asher. She, of course, was the star of Bewitched, and Harry was the executive producer, and Bill was the director. And I just got to watch. The first season of Star Trek, I got to do an episode called Metamorphosis, and that's Leonard Nimoy and DeForest Kelley. This is Many Happy Returns with John MacGyver. I was only on the show a year. This is The Odd Couple with Tony Randall and Jack Klugman. And while we worked very hard, we also had a lot of fun, a lot of laughs. The short-lived Mulligan Stew with Lawrence Pressman. He was a wonderful actor and a great, great guy, and I'm sorry that the show didn't do better than it did. The evil Nurse Honeycutt on Days of Our Lives. The first and only year of The New Adventures of Beans Baxter. It was a fun show that we shot up in Canada in the first year of Fox Television. And who guested on Beans Baxter but G. Gordon Liddy? With Bob Elliott on Get a Life. Bob Elliott's son, Chris, was the star. A wonderful family get-together with the cast of Dr. Quinn. I'm blowing it. Can we do this one again, please? Or,
just keep going.
Okay. A wonderful family picnic with the wonderful Jane Seymour and
The rest of the
cast.
wonderful cast.
I've just gone blank. It's terrible. I'm sorry.
That's quite all right. So you don't have to name everything.
wonderful family picnic with Joe Lando and Jane Seymour and Dr. Quinn, Medicine Woman. My wonderful family with Harry Ackerman, starting from the right-hand side, my son Brian with our dog Bart, and James and Peter and the baby Christopher. These are all of my sons celebrating the day of Christopher's wedding, the one in the front with me wearing the flower. The boy on the far right is my stepson, Stephen. The one next to him, all grown up, is James. Behind that is Brian, who's a sea captain now, and my son Peter, who's going to seminary, going to be an Episcopal minister.